The deep space listening post on the dark side of the moon was usually the quietest place in human space. Most nights, nothing happened. Screens showed silent stars. Machines hummed in a slow, steady rhythm. It was a place where people forgot the noise of Earth. Lieutenant Kara Vale sat at her station, sipping cold coffee. She had been listening to empty static for hours. Her eyes were tired, but she kept scanning. It was her job, and on nights like this, it felt like the galaxy had gone to sleep. Then it happened. A sharp crackle cut through the static. Kara straightened in her chair. The sound wasn't random. It had rhythm. She turned a dial, adjusting the frequency. The noise cleared. A voice came through. Human voice. "We are alive. We are not alone. And they are coming." Kara's hand froze on the controls. The words were in perfect, clear English, but not the kind people spoke now. It sounded old. Very old. Like someone reading from a history book. She quickly checked the origin of the signal, expecting it to be from somewhere in Earth orbit. But her stomach tightened when the coordinates appeared on her screen. 40 light-years away, in an uninhabited star system. A place where there should be nothing but dust and rock, Kara, a voice said behind her. It was Ensign Malik leaning over her shoulder. "What is that?" "I don't know," Kara said, her voice low. "But it's human." The voice on the transmission continued for a few seconds more. The tone was urgent, desperate. Then the line cut to static. Kara saved the recording immediately and ran a signal analysis. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't a bounce. It was real. Malik swallowed. 40 light-years. It's impossible. We've never been that far. Kara stared at the screen. Somebody has. Within minutes, the small crew of the listening post was gathered around her console. Commander Rivas, a tall, sharp-eyed man, listened to the recording twice without saying a word. When it finished, he folded his arms. "No one outside this room hears about this," he said. "That's an order." But Kara began. "No leaks, Lieutenant," Rivas said firmly. "I'm sending this to Central Command. Until they decide, we keep monitoring. If it broadcasts again, I want it recorded." The others nodded, but Kara's mind was still spinning. Humans, 40 light-years away. How? Why? Hours passed. Kara replayed the message again and again. The voice was male, maybe middle-aged, but the static made it hard to be sure. The old-fashioned English bothered her. Who still spoke like that? It was almost like hearing someone from centuries ago. She was still thinking about it when her console beeped. A priority message flashed. Authorization. Black level. Mission code. Night Horizon. Stealth deployment. Approved. Kara read it twice. A stealth mission. To the source of the signal. It wasn't public. It wouldn't be on the news. This was the kind of mission no one talked about. 2 days later, in the hidden hangar beneath the listening post, the Vigilant was prepared. It was a small, fast, deep space ship built for quiet travel. Its black hole absorbed radar and most forms of detection. Only a handful of crew would be on board, and Kara was one of them. Commander Rivas pulled her aside before boarding. "You heard the message?" he said. "That means you understand how dangerous this could be. We don't know what's out there, or who." Kara nodded. "If there are humans, we have to know how they got there, and what's coming for them." Rivas studied her for a moment, then handed her a small device. "This is your personal recorder. Keep it on at all times. Everything you see, everything you hear. Don't lose it." The Vigilant launched without ceremony. No speeches, no announcements. From the outside, it looked like any other supply shuttle leaving the moon. But once it cleared Earth's gravity, its engines went silent, switching to deep space stealth mode. Kara sat at her console, watching the stars drift by. 40 light-years. Was far even for the Vigilant. It would take weeks. Plenty of time to think. The crew didn't talk much. They all felt the weight of the mission. They had been told almost nothing, only that a human signal had been detected, and they were to find its source. Late on the first week, when most of the crew was asleep, Kara sat alone in the dim light of the navigation bay. The recorded message was still on her console. She told herself not to play it again. She had heard it enough. She knew every word, but she pressed play anyway. "We are alive. We are not alone, and they are coming." They static hissed for a moment, and then Kara froze. She heard something. She turned up the volume, listened again. At the very end of the recording, just before the signal cut out, there was a faint sound. A scream. It was quick, muffled, almost hidden under the static. But it was there, and it was human. Kara's skin prickled. Whoever had sent the message, they hadn't been alone. Whatever was with them might already have been there. When they spoke, she sat back in her chair, the empty silence of deep space pressing against her ears. For the first time in her life, Kara wished she didn't understand what she had just heard. Because now, she knew the voice in the transmission wasn't just a call for help. It was a warning. They were flying straight toward it. The forgotten colony, the Vigilant, drifted through deep space, silent as a shadow. The stars passed. Like cold lanterns in the dark. No one spoke much. The crew had begun to feel the distance, not just from Earth, but from anything human. Lieutenant Caravale sat at her console, checking their course toward the signal's coordinates. 40 light-years was far, but every day they closed the gap. She still had the recording in her pocket device she hadn't told the others about. The scream, not yet. Commander Rivas moved quietly between workstations, his face always calm, but Kara could tell he was tense. Everyone was. The message had been short, but the words stayed in their heads. "We are alive. We are not alone, and they are coming." On the 12th day, the ship's sensors detected something unusual, a faint energy trail. Kara called Rivas over. "Sir, this isn't natural, it's a drive signature. Old tech." "How old?" Rivas asked. She adjusted the readings. "Centuries. This is pre-faster-than-light design. But it's still running." The crew exchanged looks. The first human FTL ship was only built 100 years ago. This meant whoever left this trail had traveled slower, much slower. Someone had been here a very, very long time. The trail led toward a small yellow star, the same one where the signal had originated, and around that star was a planet, blue and green, like Earth. The Vigilant approached in full stealth mode, scanners working quietly. From orbit, the planet looked alive. Oceans, forests, clouds, drifting in the atmosphere. But there were no cities, no lights, no signs of modern civilization. Kara zoomed in on a wide continent. There were shapes down there, covered in vines, square outlines, metal frames half buried in earth, buildings, ruins. The crew gathered. Around the screens? "Is that human architecture?" Malik asked. "Yes," Kara said slowly. "But old. Very old. This place was built long before we had colonies." Rivas leaned over her shoulder. "So either history is wrong, or someone erased this from the record." The Vigilant entered low orbit and launched 2 reconnaissance drones. They glided down silently, scanning the ruins. Images came back, crumbling streets, toppled towers, and rusted metal walls. On one wall, the camera caught something that made Kara's heart skip a flag. It was the old Earth flag, the one from before the United World Government. The red, white, and blue, still faintly visible under centuries of dust. Malik stared. "That's impossible. That flag hasn't been used for over 400 years. Rivas's jaw tightened. "Which means this colony left Earth before our official records start." Hours later, the drones picked up movement. Kara zoomed in. Figures. Humans. Not just 1 or 2, dozens, walking through the ruins. Their clothes were worn, patched, from animal hides and scraps of old uniforms. They carried weapons, crude spears, crossbows, even sharpened metal pipes. "They're alive," Malik whispered. One of them looked up directly at the drone's camera. His face was hard, weathered. By years under the sun? He shouted something. The audio was distorted, but Kara could swear it was English. Then, without warning, he threw a spear. The drone's feed went black. The crew fell silent. "They don't trust outsiders," Rivas said. "That's clear." Kara frowned. "Sir, we should still make contact. They sent that message. They must want help." Rivas shook his head. "They're warning us to stay away." We need to know why before we step on that ground. That night, in the dim light of her cabin, Kara listened to the transmission again. She replayed the scream over and over. It wasn't just fear in that sound. There was pain, like something had grabbed the person mid-sentence. She remembered the man's eyes in the drone footage, sharp, alert, almost. The next morning, they picked up another signal. It was short, broken, full of static, but it came from the planet. Stay away. They're under. The ground. The words were faint, but Kara and Rivas exchanged a look. Under the ground, before they could analyze further, something strange happened. The ground trembled harder. Dust fell from the ruined walls. Kara could feel the vibration in her bones, slow, heavy, powerful. The young woman didn't wait. She grabbed Kara's arm and pulled. This way now. Commander Rivas gave the signal, and the landing team followed, running through broken streets. The woman led them into what looked like an old subway entrance, the stairs half collapsed, but still passable. "Who are you?" Rivas demanded as they descended into the dark. "My name's Leanne," she said between breaths. "Born here. Never been anywhere else. And if you want to live, you'll follow me without questions." The rumbling above grew louder. No, not above. Below. Kara realized with horror that the sound was coming from deeper underground than they were. The tunnel smelled of rust and mold. Their helmet lights cut through the dark, revealing cracked tiles and graffiti in faded English. Some messages were warnings. "Don't go lower. They listen." Malik whispered, "Who's they?" Leanne turned sharply. "Not human. Not from here. Not from your Earth either." They reached a metal door at the end of the tunnel. Leanne knocked 3 times in a strange pattern. Slit opened, and a pair of eyes looked out. Human eyes. The door creaked open, revealing a small underground camp. Dozens of people were inside. Dirty, tired, dressed in patched clothing. They stopped what they were doing when they saw the landing team. An old man stepped forward. His voice was hoarse. "More outsiders." "This is bad. We're here to help," Rivas said firmly. The old man's eyes narrowed. "Then help us leave this cursed planet." Kara looked around. "It's the people here. We're thin, worn down by years of fear." Children clung to their parents. The walls were reinforced with scrap metal and makeshift weapons hung from racks. Leanne handed Kara a canteen of water. "We've been hiding for generations. My grandfather told me stories about the first ones who came here from Earth. They thought this was a paradise. Then they came aliens," Kara asked. Nodded. "Not the kind you talk to. Not the kind you bargain with. They live under the ground. They grow things there. Things that aren't plants. Things that are alive." The old man joined in. "They take people. Pull them down into the tunnels. We never see them again. The only warning you get is the ground shaking." Before Kara could ask more, the shaking returned, stronger this time. The walls rattled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere far below, a deep, echoing screech rang out, so low it made Kara's teeth ache. The camp erupted in panic. Grabbed weapons, children were rushed into hidden side tunnels. Leanne shouted, "They know we're here." Rivas ordered the team to set up defensive positions at the entrance. Malik aimed his rifle down the subway tunnel, his finger tense. On the trigger, the sound came again, a screech mixed with something like metal grinding. Then came the smell, foul, chemical, and burning. And then they saw it. At first it looked like a mass of black roots breaking through the tunnel wall. The roots were moving, twisting like snakes. They had sharp tips, glinting in the light. One lashed forward, hitting the wall so hard it cracked the concrete. "Open fire!" Rivas shouted. Gunfire roared in the tunnel. The black tendrils recoiled, but more poured in, moving unnaturally fast. Kara fired burst after burst, but for every tendril they hit, 2 more emerged. Leanne yelled over the noise, "That's just the harvester. The real one is still below." The floor buckled. A huge shape pushed up from beneath the broken tiles, something that looked almost like an insect, but wrong. Its body was made of black armor plates, slick with some kind of oil. 6 legs, each ending in blades, cut through the debris like paper. Its head, if it could be called that, had no eyes, only a ring of grinding teeth that spun in a perfect Circle! The thing let out another screech, the sound vibrating through the walls. The old man shouted, "Fall back! Fall back deeper!" The colonists pulled back into the narrow tunnels. Rivas gave the order, and the landing team followed, firing as they moved. The creature slammed its bladed legs into the ground, chasing them, the metal shriek echoing like a scream. Kara felt the heat from its body, not warmth, but a strange electrical heat, like standing too close to an overloaded generator. They reached another sealed door, and Leon hit a switch. Heavy gate slammed down just as the creature lunged. Forward, its bladed legs slicing into the metal, sparks flew. The entire gate shuddered under the impact. The thing on the other side clawed and scraped, making a sound that went straight into Kara's skull. Then, slowly, it stopped. For a moment, there was silence, only the sound of people breathing hard. Then Leanne said, "Now you understand. You can't fight them forever. We survive only by hiding." Rivas frowned. "We didn't come all this way to hide. If these things are hunting humans, we end it here." The old man gave him a long, hard look. "Others have tried. And every time, they learn more about us. Every time, more of us disappear." Kara looked at Rivas. She could see the decision forming in his eyes. They couldn't just leave these people. But she also knew the more they stayed, the more those things would come. And deep down, she feared that maybe the scream in the first transmission wasn't from someone dying. Maybe it was from someone becoming one of them. The hunt below the underground camp was quiet now, but it wasn't the peaceful kind of quiet. It was the kind that came after danger, the kind where everyone listened for the next sound. Commander Rivas paced near the sealed gate. Kara watched him, knowing what was coming. He hated sitting still. Finally, he said, "We're going after them." The old man's face turned pale. "You'll be dead before you even find the main hive," maybe, Rivas replied. "But if we don't try, they'll keep coming until no one's left." Kara checked her weapon. She didn't like the plan, but she couldn't argue with it. Those things weren't just predators. They were organized. The harvester they fought had been scouting. It meant more were coming. Leanne stood by. The wall, arms crossed. "If you're going down there, I'm going too." Rivas shook his head. "Too dangerous. You don't know the tunnels," she shot back. "I do. Without me, you'll be lost in minutes." There was no time to argue. She was in. They prepared quickly. Extra ammo, flares, light packs, and breathing masks in case the air below was bad. Malik muttered, "Feels like we're walking straight into hell." "Not hell," Leanne said softly. "Worse." The gate opened with a slow groan. The smell hit them first, a mix of burning oil, metal, and something rotten. They stepped into the dark tunnel beyond. The walls weren't just stone anymore. Strange black growths clung to them, pulsing slightly, like breathing. Kara's stomach turned. "Is that alive?" Leanne didn't look at her. "Everything down here is." The deeper they went, the more wrong everything felt. Their lights flickered, and sometimes Kara thought she saw shapes moving in the dark, too fast to catch, too quiet to track. They reached a chamber where the floor dropped into a pit. Rivas shone his light down and froze. The pit walls were lined with dozens of human-shaped cocoons, some fresh, some old. Inside the newer ones, pale faces stared out with lifeless eyes. Leanne whispered, "That's where the taken go? Before they're changed?" Kara's heart pounded. "Changed into what?" "You don't want to know." A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Loose stones fell into the pit. The leak hissed. "We've got movement." From the far tunnel, something large was coming, its footsteps a heavy, wet thud. Rivas motioned for cover, and they hid behind jagged rocks. The creature that entered was different from the harvester. It was taller, thinner, its body stretched unnaturally long. Its legs bent in strange directions, and in place of a mouth, it had a long, split tube that pulsed as it sniffed the air. It moved to the pit and lowered the tube toward one of the cocoons. There was a wet tearing sound, and the cocoon twitched. Kara looked away, bile rising in her throat. The creature froze. Slowly, its head turned toward their hiding place. It let out a clicking noise, fast, sharp, like metal tapping glass. Rivas hissed, "Move." They broke cover, sprinting toward another tunnel. The thing shrieked and came after them, its long legs slicing through the air. Kara fired over her shoulder, hitting it in the chest, but instead of blood, black smoke hissed out of the wound. It didn't slow down. They ran through twisting passages until Leon ducked into a narrow side tunnel barely wide enough for a person. The alien tried to follow, but its body was too big. It clawed at the walls, screeching in frustration. The sound made Kara's skin crawl. Leanne led them deeper, and soon the tunnel opened into a cavern unlike anything Kara had seen. The walls glowed faintly, covered in translucent sacks filled with some kind of fluid. Inside each, something moved. They weren't human, not exactly. Some were twisted, with limbs in the wrong places. Others had metal growing out of their skin, and a few looked almost human, except for their eyes, which were black and glassy like the creatures. Leanne's voice shook. "This is the nursery. This is how they replace themselves. And how they make more of us." Kara stepped closer to one of the sacks, and the figure inside turned its head toward her. Its mouth moved. No sound came out, but she could read the lips. The pale figure stepped closer, slow and calm, as if the swarm of creatures behind it wasn't rushing forward. Its bare feet made no sound on the stone floor. Kara's hands tightened on her weapon. "Stay back," Rivas warned, his voice steady. The figure tilted its head. "You came all this way, and now you tell me to stay back?" Its voice was smooth, almost warm, but there was something wrong beneath it, like an echo that didn't belong. Leon whispered, "It's one of them. But it used to be human." The swarm stopped just at the edge of the light, like they were waiting for an order. The figure's black eyes moved from Kara to Rivas to Malik, and finally to Leanne. "You smell of fear," it said softly, "and you should. You've entered our heart." Rivas took a step forward. "We're here for the others you've taken." A faint smile crossed the figure's face. "They are no longer yours to take back. They are ours now. Part of us. Part of the whole." Kara forced her voice to stay calm. "We heard the signal," someone said. "We are alive." "Was that you?" The figure's smile faded. "No, that was them, the ones who escaped us. Long ago, they hide far from here, but their time is ending. We will consume them as we will consume you." The words hit hard. There were other humans out there or something like them, and these things were hunting them too. Malik muttered under his breath, "This is insane." The figure's head snapped toward him as if it heard every word. "Insane? No. We are the answer. Alone, you are fragile, weak. Together, in the whole, you are eternal." Rivas raised his weapon. "Eternal doesn't interest me." For a moment, the figure's calm cracked. Its mouth stretched too wide, teeth too sharp. "Then you will be nothing." Without warning, the swarm surged forward. Kara and Malik opened fire, the cavern echoing with gunfire and shrieks. Leanne grabbed Kara's arm and pulled her toward a side passage. "This way now." They ran, but the pale figure didn't chase. It just watched, its voice following them in the darkness. "You can run, but every tunnel leads back to me." The side passage was narrow and slick, forcing them to slow down. Kara's boots slipped on something soft, and she looked down. It was a trail of the same black growth from before, winding deeper into the rock-like veins. Rivas barked, "Keep moving." They emerged into another chamber, this one filled with strange machinery. Some of it looked alien, but other pieces were clearly human-made, old, rusted, marked with faded Earth military symbols. Malik stared. "What the hell?" Leanne swallowed hard. "They've been here longer than you think." Flashlight swept over a row of metal pods. She froze. Inside each pod was a human body, unmoving, eyes closed. Tubes ran from their necks and wrists into the walls, pumping black fluid in and out. Rivas stepped closer. "Are they alive?" Before anyone could answer, one of the bodies twitched. The eyes opened, completely black. The mouth moved slowly. "Join us." The lights above flickered, and a low rumble shook the room. Kara's stomach twisted. "They're coming again." From the shadows behind the pods, several pale figures stepped out, each with the same black veins and dead eyes. Leanne backed toward the tunnel. We can't fight this many. The swarm's clicking and screeching grew louder. The sound came from every direction now. Riva scanned the room quickly, spotting a narrow maintenance shaft in the wall. This way, go. One by one, they climbed in. The shaft was tight and steep, forcing them to crawl. Behind them, the swarm's sounds grew more frantic. They were close. Halfway up, Kara heard the voice again, soft and calm in her ear. You will see. In the end, you will beg to be part of us. She almost slipped, her skin crawling. Get out of my head, the voice chuckled. It's already too late. They reached the top of the shaft and burst into a small airlock. Leanne slammed the door shut, sealing it with a heavy latch. Everyone stood there, breathing hard. Their faces pale. Malik broke the silence. Just saw humans, real humans, turned into them. If they've been here this long, how far has it spread? Rivas looked at Kara. That's what we're going to find out. But first, we get out of this hole alive. Somewhere below, the swarm let out a long, echoing scream. It was the sound of something that wasn't done hunting. Kara knew they weren't done with her either. The escape that isn't the airlock door hissed open. Cold night wind rushed in, sharp and fresh, after the suffocating tunnels. For a moment, Kara thought they had made it. Above them, the alien sky of this forgotten world stretched wide, full of strange stars. Rivas took point, scanning with his rifle. Let's move. No stopping until we're at the dropship. They ran across the rocky plain, the faint light of the moon glinting off jagged stone. Behind them, the ground shook with a distant rumble. Leanne glanced back. They're not following. Maybe a deep rolling sound cut her off, like stone breaking. Far away, at the mouth of the tunnel, black shapes spilled out. Hundreds of them. Malik cursed. Forget, maybe. They're coming. The team pushed harder, lungs burning. The dropship was still a black shadow on the horizon. Kara's mind replayed the voice in the tunnels. Every tunnel leads back to me. It had sounded like a threat, but what if it was a fact? Rivas's voice snapped her back. Stay sharp. They can move faster than they look. The swarm began to spread. Out. Some moving along the ground. Others climbing the cliffs around them. They weren't just chasing, they were herding. Malik saw it first. They're cutting us off. Rivas adjusted course toward a narrow gorge. We'll lose them in there. They plunged inside, the walls rising high on both sides. Sounds of the swarm echoed strangely, bouncing off the stone until it felt like the creatures were everywhere. Halfway through the gorge, something dropped from above, pale hands grabbing Malik's arm. He screamed and fired point blank, the blast throwing the creature back into the dark. Kara helped pull him forward. You good? He nodded, but his face was pale. Yeah, just keep moving. They burst out of the gorge, and there it was, the dropship standing on its landing struts, ramp open. Relief surged through. The team, they sprinted. Leanne reached the ramp first, turning to cover the others as they piled in. Rivas slammed the hatch shut the moment Kara's boots hit the deck. Strap in, he ordered. The ship lifted, engines roaring, dust and stones whipping across the ground. Through the small viewport, Kara saw the swarm still coming, but shrinking as the dropship climbed higher. For the first time in hours, Kara let herself breathe. Leanne leaned back in her seat. We made it. Malik gave a shaky laugh. I never want to see another cave in my life. Rivas didn't say anything. He was staring at the controls, his jaw tight. Kara frowned. What is it? He hesitated. We're getting a proximity warning. Something's already in orbit. Leanne checked the sensors. Her face went pale. They're up here too. On the screen, multiple signals appeared, moving toward them fast. Each one had the same faint energy signature they had seen on the ground. Before they could react, a voice crackled through the cum. It was the same calm, cold tone they had. Heard in the tunnels, you cannot escape the hole. We are everywhere. We are already inside. Kara's skin went cold. Inside? What do you mean? A soft clicking came from the seat beside her. She turned and froze. Lick's hands were shaking. Black veins crept up his neck. Leanne unbuckled, reaching for him. Malik, no. He looked up at her with completely black eyes. Join us, he whispered. Before anyone could move, Malik's body convulsed. The black veins spread across his face, his voice now layered with the alien echo. They will all join, one by one. Rivas raised his weapon, but Malik moved impossibly fast, knocking it away. The cockpit erupted in chaos, shouts, gunfire, the thud of fists. The dropship shook violently as something slammed into its hull from outside. Kara fought to push Malik back, but his strength was inhuman now. Through the viewport, she saw dark shapes clinging to the ship's surface, clawing at the metal. Rivas shouted over the noise. Can't land on Earth. If we bring this thing back, the implication hit Kara like a punch. If they went home, they'd bring the infection with them. Earth would fall. She looked at Rivas, her voice steady, despite the chaos. Then we don't go home. Leanne fought the controls, breaking the ship away from the incoming signals. Kara slammed the emergency bulkhead down between the cockpit and the rear compartment, trapping Malik on the other side. His pounding on the metal door echoed like a drum beat. The voice came again, now through every speaker on the ship. You can run to the edge of the stars. We will find you, 'cause you are already ours. The dropship's engines roared as it vanished into the dark between worlds. Behind them, the swarm watched from the planet's surface. And somewhere out there, in some forgotten corner of space, other humans were waiting. If they were still alive,